Hi there, my friend. I'm Peter Barron. Welcome to today's episode of the Independent School Moonshot Podcast. I am thrilled to welcome Beth Owen. Beth is the founder of Searchality, and we're going to talk about a topic that honestly, I've probably had like versions of this conversation with heads of school over the last couple of years, and that is like just finding enough teachers to fill the teacher pipeline. It's just getting harder and harder. There are a lot of reasons for why that pipeline is smaller than it used to be, but we're going to get into all of that, into the capacity challenge and all the things. But before we do, Beth Owen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. This is a conversation I've been having in my head and having professionally with colleagues and schools for a number of years now. So I couldn't be happier to be having it here with you today and thinking about it at a strategic level as you seem to think about so many topics.
Well, I'm really excited to get into this too. But before we do, can you introduce yourself and Searchality?
Yeah, sure. And so I founded Searchality pre-COVID. Let's just put it that way. It was around 2018, and I was really looking at it. I come from an international education background as a student and alumni, as now raising kids in the international school system, and married to an international school head. So, international school education was really where I was coming at this problem. And then post-COVID, when everything had changed kind of technologically from one vantage point technologically, and then also the problem and challenges around teacher hiring had really embedded themselves in the U.S. independent school system. Um, I sort of pivoted and built a second platform dedicated to independent schools. So this is a problem really near and dear to my heart, and I think fundamentally I could see and feel the pain of the teacher hiring process from both the teacher's perspective and the hiring school's perspective, and kind of couldn't believe in 2021 when I really looked at it again, um, how little had changed, not in 10 years or 20 years, but in like 50 years of hiring teachers. That how were we still at the, you know, put a job vacancy up, send a resume in, apply, and that this was really the system with a little bit of email thrown in that hadn't existed 50 years ago. But I was really floored by how little had been thought about and how little had been invested as a ecosystem into solving this for both the schools that are hiring and the teachers that are looking for work.
Well, let's dig into all of this because, Beth, I've probably recorded 5 or 6 podcasts on, this a version of this conversation around like there just aren't enough teachers that to fill the vacant roles, right? And that's just not for independent schools, but it's across, in public schools, charter schools, all the things across the country, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But I'm curious, have I want to talk about that challenge and actually understand, like, what does it look like right now on the ground, and has it shifted over the last few years?
So the data on this is surprisingly light. Like you could Google and ask ChatGPT and AI to your heart's content, and finding hard numbers both in the US, in different country systems, and internationally is very, very hard to get hard numbers. What we do know is that just entering graduate programs like teacher training programs at universities and colleges is 35% less than it was 10 years ago. Now, that's a massive number over quite a long time, but it just gives you the delta on 10 years ago. Looking less than 10 years is hard because of the COVID blip and kind of what happened there. But while population growth is flattening a little bit, it's not disappearing. So the population is still growing. More teachers are still needed because education just doesn't change. The demand is there. And that's 35% less than in 2016, which, if you can believe it, was 10 years ago, even though it doesn't feel like it.
Hmm.
So just that number there of teachers coming in is smaller. Then, of course, we know, and these numbers are softer, that kind of there's 8 to 10% attrition rate from people leaving on an annual basis. Now that includes retiring and also just choosing to leave the profession. But post-COVID, what I would refer to as the gig economy has made a big difference to teachers leaving the profession. So as ed tech boom, all those ed tech companies were looking for teachers and attracting teachers. They really wanted teachers to come in and help with product development or running products. Teachers found alternative careers throughout COVID that they needed to in summers and et cetera, with whatever personal tutoring or completely outside in terms of catering or whatever they wanted to do. So there are a lot more opportunities for teachers leaving as well. So you've got fewer coming in and also a kind of higher percentage leaving. So it's resulting in somewhere between kind of 18 and 30% of vacancies are going unfilled across the sector, and that's in the US. That's really a huge number.
Yeah. Do you anticipate some of that changing with, tech layoffs and things of that nature? I mean, here I am sitting in Seattle and it's every day there's like an announcement of another wave of layoffs. And I just wonder if, there's an opportunity, especially for independent schools, like to think strategically about, wow, there's a lot of talent out there. Can we tap into new pools?
So 100%. And it's encouraging to see what's happening in some pockets of schools as the problem has grown. In a way, I think it's something that needed to be broken to be properly fixed, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. That as the problem got worse, schools started kind of looking at flexibility around contracts. Obviously, pay and compensation is a massive conversation. It's not the only conversation, but it is an important one. As you say, a softer economy out there for what the alternatives are. At the end of the day, people who go into teaching do it because they care, because they're passionate, because it's what they want to do. And
Yeah.
if they don't do it for that, or if they lose their love of it, then they're going to leave no matter what. But teachers they do want to teach, right? They do it for the passion of it. So as long as schools can offer rewarding sort of valuable vacancies, that they're not kind of expecting too much from the teachers from a work-life balance, allowing them to have a little work-life balance and supporting them and training them, then teachers will come back and are coming back, actually both in the district sort of public sector and in the independent school sector. So you can see and read, we're trying to publish some of that, some of these wonderful stories and give examples of what some great kind of stuff is going on out there. But there is an opportunity, absolutely, especially I think in the independent sector, to woo teachers back both to their individual schools and into the profession.
And so that leads me to my next question, which is, okay, say you have some folks who are interested in a particular school. They're probably doing their due diligence before they apply. They're checking out the school, trying to understand it. And my guess is that by virtue of them doing that work, they're kind of picking up on some signals, right? What is the school about? All those sorts of things. How often do those signals actually maybe quietly disqualify great people who would have been a strong fit?
Well, it is huge. It's funny that you say that the examples that you gave about what a school is about is exactly what teachers are looking for. So you have, like in any profession, so you've got this group of incredibly qualified, experienced teachers that any independent school would love to have. Those teachers have their pick of jobs. And so they can go from website to website or look up heads on LinkedIn or Google about the school. The website is the kind of the first port of call for sure. They're looking for messages from leadership. They're looking for the mission of the school. They're looking for testimonials from other teachers. What they're looking for is this a place that I am going to be able to kind of teach the way I want to teach sort of what I believe and the way I believe that I came into teaching for a reason. Am I going to be able to fulfill my mission at this school? Whether that is pedagogically, inquiry-based learning, whether there's a faith base in there, whether it's about teaching to underprivileged, whether it's learning support, whatever, teachers are people above all else. And so
Right.
are they going to be able to kind of fulfill their teaching mission, if you will, at that school? And if they can't find that, if they can't find what a school is about and all they can see is where it is and what curriculum they teach and kind of flashy pictures that are aimed only at enrollment, then it's going to be hard for them to answer those questions. And they might keep trying to find the answers and they might not.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the teachers that I think, Peter, maybe you're talking about, which is maybe they have less experience, maybe they're younger or older coming back into the profession, or they've been taking a
Second
trip for
career or
several
something like
years and
that.
kind of coming
Yeah.
back and are they qualified? If they're questioning, are they qualified? Would they be able to get a job? Well, then there's other signals that they're looking for. They're looking for subliminal things across the website. Are there photos of older and younger teachers? Does the careers page talk about professional development and training? Is there mentorship? Is there, are there messages for them there on those pages? If they look at those vacancies that are posted, are there really kind of hard and fast experience and education and length of experience requirements that feel sort of black and white, that if you don't meet those, then please don't bother applying. So there are both kind of hard and soft signals that they're absolutely looking for.
That's so interesting. Like, I'm already thinking in my mind are like, what are some kind of assessments that you can do of your career page to understand, are you speaking to potential applicants in a way that really resonates? Like that I don't look at a lot of career pages, so I don't know what's on most of these career pages, but I can imagine that with any existing page, like there's opportunity to make it better. And what a cool place to put a little bit of energy into.
And it doesn't take a ton, right? It takes a little,
Right.
then almost one
Yeah.
time, and then it's kind of refresh your testimonials every couple of years and make sure if there's a new head that the message is there. But having the conversation, and I think this would fit so well with what you do so well, Peter, is those strategic conversations with leadership teams at schools to say, who do we want to hire in 2026? Let's, take off the vision board from 2012 of they need to have 8 years experience and a PhD and whatever. Let's think about realistically in 2026, who do we need to hire at our school? And then are we speaking to them on this one page on our
Yeah.
website? And can we
Right.
make a little project for our marketing team to make sure that that careers page is speaking to whoever it is that we want to attract? It's not a lot, and I think it would make a massive difference to so many schools.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm thinking about it now in the context of the work that I do with schools, especially around the operating system work I do. And I'm like, okay, this sounds like a great 90-day project. Like
Yes.
the outcome at the end of the 90 days will be a new career page that speaks to all the things that are important to us, whatever those things are. I'll list them underneath, and then you figure out how you're going to do it. But like, if you make it a priority, then you're putting it in a position to get done.
Yep, 100%. And it's kind of we're just putting out our newsletter, and I'm saying summer project. If you haven't done this, this is a great summer project because you're not
Yeah,
recruiting anybody. Nobody's
good point.
probably coming. You're very little people. Nobody's coming on your, and compared to enrollment, where you really kind of summer is actually an important time for recruitment. Summer is usually the quietest time of the year, but your HR team is generally there. Your marketing team is generally around. So yeah, it is a wonderful strategic project. And for people to kind of be thinking in those terms. Websites are built for parents and families and enrollment. And we just need this one page to speak a little differently, a little bit different language, a little bit different of a target audience, very targeted content that doesn't need to be changed very often to speak to candidates.
That kind of gets me thinking about the strategy, like as you're thinking strategically about building your faculty and making sure, and really being committed to having a diverse candidate pool. Like what are some signals of really good strategies around that? Like where have you seen schools that are doing well on that front?
So, one of the big things, and I'm talking about this first because it's almost chronological on a teacher's journey, is around graduates and sort of mentee programs, mentorship programs.
Mm,
It's the vicious circle of any career that you need experience to get a job, but you can't get experience without a job. And
right.
teaching is
It's
kind
the
of no
worst.
difference. Teacher programs are actually pretty good at internships and placements. And some schools are good at participating in that, but kind of seeing those through and giving those first couple of years experience, investing in that. Um, Something when I was thinking about this discussion that we were about to have, one of my aha moments, Peter, was when it comes to enrollment, independent schools compete with each other, right? There's a limited number of kids coming in, and so everybody wants them. And so that's a competition. When it comes to candidates, schools could and should be working in partnership. It's a village, it's a community. It's better for the whole ecosystem that schools together kind of build this talent pool, a sustainable pipeline of teachers that then, because of the mission, because of how teaching works, the right place, your school, one teacher isn't going to work at your school and my school necessarily, there'll be a
Right.
better fit somewhere. But if we both develop these teachers and, kind of work, whether it's as a school group of some kind, whether it's geographically, whether it's in a group of faith-based schools or charter schools or whatever connections that schools have with each other, working together on programs to say, hey, if your math department works on developing a bunch of high school teachers, then our, English English department will work on, mentoring teachers. And then together we can kind of share this pool of great teachers. You don't need to compete to do it. You don't need to, which is unlike enrollment, which I thought it's an interesting way of looking at things that independent schools don't often get to work together.
It's not a big leap either. I mean, if you think about the role of state, regional, national associations, I mean, they've facilitated this type of work for a long time. But if I'm hearing it correctly, you're saying, hey, like you could actually take it a step further. Like school A and school B, you have these complementary departments. We're all like, we only have X amount of professional development dollars. Like, what if we came together and built an institute just for our cohort of schools?
And not only professional development, but actually kind of graduate and mentee programs, like where you're actually working with a teacher college in your area and saying, we're really going to formally help you. And it's going to buy, there's a little bit of investment, by the way. This is going to be fundraised dollars to get a qualified teacher through through a program to help them be really ready when, the 2 years post graduation, that they are a fully fledged ready to go into your classroom kind of teacher. It's something that we're seeing more in international schools, which is exciting. Yeah. Something that I don't hear as much about in the U.S. independent schools is kind of proper training programs for new graduates where schools are working together. So that's at the beginning of that. Kind of, if I was ahead, I would be looking at the language of our vacancies. I would be saying, are we really selling what we do here? It would be, again, sort of a great project in that 90 days that you're talking about to say, I just need one. I want one really excellently written vacancy for our school to talk about what we give and how we approach things and how kind of inspirational this is. And then we will apply it to all the other templates. But, I would assign a prize to somebody who could just write the most compelling vacancy for your school. And by the way, if it's a teacher, because they would do that really well to say why I love teaching at the school, let me write the vacancy description, but I would be doing a review of that. And treating those really as sales tools, almost engagement tools, rather than kind of prescription of what a teacher has to qualify for. It's what a different message that is, Peter, if you're a candidate applying for a job and you're feeling pitched to.
This reminds me of a conversation that I had a couple months ago with Megan Gerhardt. She's a professor at Miami University, and she co-authored this book on gen intelligence, right? And it's like, how do you build relationships across cross-generational relationships? And I think there's this kind of trope that all generations kind of fall into certain groupings, right? Like, and I think what she said that was really powerful for me was like, look, you can't put everybody together under a single tent. Like everybody's going to be their own person, but there's certainly signals that come from generations. And one of the signals is around common language and how we write things, and say as a Gen X generation versus the way Gen Z might interpret it, and really thinking critically around, like, as we're positioning these job descriptions, are we saying things in ways that are going to resonate with younger generations? And it just was really, I mean, people can go back in the catalog and take a listen to it or pick up her book, but what you just described really reminded me of that and how powerful. Just making sure you're using the right language when you're talking about your school.
Which is then a hugely interesting point as well, is if you're looking at how well you're recruiting as a head of school, if you're looking at how well your recruitment kind of cycle is going, where is it breaking down? Are you not getting enough applicants, which I hear is a kind of common complaint? Yeah. When you get the applicants, are you converting your top ones that are applying? Are you actually able to hook them in, the ones that apply that you want? Where is the drop coming? Where is the breakdown coming? Because those solutions are very different, right? Depending on where your pain is. And what you just spoke about there, I think about the interview process and what are you trying, understanding what that candidate is looking for and making sure that you understand that when you're conducting the interview. So is it somebody who used to teach who's coming back out of a period at home? Is it somebody who has never taught, but they've been they work for Goldman Sachs and could teach, AP economics and business classes with their eyes closed type thing, but they want a slower, gentler pace of life? Or is it a 28-year-old kind of quite young, new teacher coming in and really wanting to learn and just understanding what their personal goals are when you're conducting that interview, and speaking their language is a really, is a really good point.
And, we're really good at this already. I mean, if you think about what's happening in classrooms and recognizing that every student is bringing their own story,
Differentiation.
their own perspective, and that we're creating safe spaces for kids to realize their potential. I think we can borrow from that and utilize it as part of the search process for sure. And that's just going to make us even more attractive to more people, right? At the end of the
Yep.
day.
100%. And I guess the last piece on things that they could do is not only reflect on the language, but look at those qualifications and the experience that you have listed on your vacancies. And just because you've always required those things to be a high school whatever teacher or an elementary classroom teacher, are they really still valid experience and credential requirements? And
Yeah.
are you eliminating great candidates by having those requirements? There was a really interesting discussion on LinkedIn from an international school saying the other day, saying, if you find out that somebody is kind of uh, met your AI vacancy posting requirements by using AI, and that maybe there's a little lack of integrity there, that they kind of lied on there to kind of get through your net. Do you reward them with creativity because you say, oh, actually, that's really smart? Or do you kind of not include them because of the integrity piece? And it was funny, my response, there's a whole discussion on the
Sure.
importance of integrity in applications. And actually, my response in the thread was, if you have put a qualification down that has eliminated somebody that you want to hire, then the problem is with your qualifications. Then that means your net is too tight, right? Like if somebody has slipped through that you think you want to hire, that problem is with the net. And so to really not, by the way, I believe in integrity, but I really think heads and HR departments should be looking at those requirements and saying, do we really need it? Does this require a university degree? Does this require an advanced university degree? Does this require 5 years experience? Or
Yeah.
are we eliminating some really great applicants and candidates in terms of the diversity that we're looking for by just putting qualifications down that have always been there?
One thing that I worked with a really great HR professional many years ago, and she had said to me, is like, when we were writing job descriptions, like, look, go read that job description and ask yourself the question, would I want to do that job? Like, is it just, is what we're asking of that person reasonable?
Yeah.
And that's always stuck with me. Like, okay, you write a job description, take a step back, read it, and say, is this a reasonable amount of work for any individual to do? And I just thought that was a powerful framing for me. I'd love for you to react to that.
Well, that's a powerful 100% on the vacancy itself. And I go one step back in the process as well and say, again, in 2026, look at the process that you're asking a candidate, look at the hoops that you're asking a candidate to jump through to
Hmm.
apply.
Yeah.
And would you, as one of those absolutely gold, well qualified, experienced teachers that any school would want to have, and by the way, those teachers now know that about themselves,
Yeah.
are you asking them to go through a process of application that they don't need to go through to get a great job? I think those are both really valid questions. Are you asking somebody to kind of print off a form and write a big long philosophy statement from hand and write a dedicated cover letter and not use AI for any of this, and then, scan copies of examples of things and teaching plans and all these things at step one of an interview, or step one of a process, I should say, that they don't even know, they don't even have all the information yet, and you're asking them to sort of do all of that work. So I guess maybe you're right in the order. One is the vacancy. Is are you advertising jobs that people would really want to do and feel excited about? And then two, the next one is the process. Are you asking them to go through too much just
Yeah.
to get through, just to make it to a short list and have a conversation?
If I imagine there may be a head of school who's listening to this and saying, wow, there's a lot in here. I need to process this, but I'm thinking about what would be the first step that I would take to start rethinking the process in general. Um, I'm going to put this question to you, a little free consulting for folks on the other side. Like, what would be the first step that you would take if you were going to re-architect a hiring process?
So first of all, I'd be sure that I knew the bigger, and this is really different, by the way, that I work with small schools who the head is he or she is editing vacancy descriptions and
Sure.
posting them and whatever. And then I work with schools who we deal almost exclusively with the HR director who keeps the head of school informed. So this is a big range, as you know better than many about in international and independent schools and
Yep.
what that range looks like. First thing I would do as a head is make sure I really understood what was happening out there in recruitment. Have I looked at those vacancy postings recently? Do I understand where they're posted? Do I feel connected to the process and confident that I know what's going on? And same with the careers page and same with the applications process. I would then have a discussion with anybody on the team to say, do I know where it's breaking? First of all, are we perfectly happy and everything's going swimmingly? Great, move on. You can go to the next thing. If you're not, where exactly in the process are problems happening? And then the easiest place to start is on your own website and your careers page, because we've done the research. It was part of building Searchality that we conducted this extensive digital landscape research on what teachers do if a teacher wakes up on the morning, has a bad day and says, I'm getting a new job, or we're moving across the country, I need a new job. What exactly do they do? Where do they look? What are the search terms they use? What sites do they visit? So your website is always part of that journey. Sometimes it's the first step. Sometimes it's after they've seen the job vacancy somewhere. They are always coming to your school website and looking for the content and the answers to their questions. What is the school about?
Yeah.
Who's in
Yeah.
charge? What's the vibe? What's the turnover at the school? How happy are teachers? Cost of living, all these types of things, all this information, they're going to your website. So that's the easiest one, Peter, is making sure that you've got that in hand.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. And Beth, thank you so much for coming on the pod today. This has been terrific. I do have one more question for you. So, if somebody wants to reach out, what's the best way for them to do that?
So on the website, my name is Beth Owen at searchality.com. We've tried to keep that pretty easy, but the website searchality.com has a lot of places to click, and same on LinkedIn. So wherever people are comfortable, we're very easy. Any of us are very easy to get in touch with, and we're really happy to have conversations that don't need to be sales conversations. By the way, it's my favorite thing to talk about, and also every conversation with a school, whether they wind up subscribing to Searchality or not, or whether we wind up helping them or not, I learned something. So yeah, I like talking to the more schools, the better. So please reach out.
That's terrific. Beth Owen, founder of Searchality. Thank you again. And if for those members of Moonshot Lab, hang tight. We have a little bit of an extended interview here. But Beth, thanks again. I really appreciate it.